Can Gerber really make a good fire starter? Well, that's what we're gonna answer in this video today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here at Gideon's Tactical. I'm Aaron, hanging out in South Texas with you guys, and we're gonna take a look at this little fire starter that's actually a take on a Bear Grylls design from years past. I had that one, actually done a review on it, and so I saw an update and this model, and so I said, okay, let me pick it up and let's see what it can do. And we're gonna answer whether or not it's a good product and can Gerber make a good product, basically, on these three criteria that you should always look for when you're considering a FIRESTEEL. So rule number one is size. It's got to be able to be manipulated easily without fine motor skills. If it's really teeny tiny and you have to get it at a certain angle, otherwise it won't throw sparks and it won't start a fire, then I'm not going to use it, and you probably shouldn't either, because I can't tell you how many times after finishing a hike and it's below freezing and I'm trying to get a fire going and you just lose a lot of those fine motor skills. Maybe you're injured in some way and you're using it in an emergency situation, so you want to be able to have a big full grip. Just as an example, one of the devices I have used for a long time is the Gob Spark. This thing you can grip very easily. It's large, and you don't need fine motor skills, and you can easily connect with the rod and throw the sparks that you need to. And so that's a really important thing. Whereas on the flip side, though I love Light My Fire FIRESTEELs and they have their place because they are rather compact, you have to kind of grip these in a very small, you can only really connect with 2 fingers on the striker, 2 fingers on the rod itself, and you really got to get a good angle on it. You don't really have a lot of cord. Obviously you can add to that, but that's something that's always been a little tricky. And to answer the question about the Gerber, this Gerber, it absolutely has a very good large handle that's easy to grab and a good large striker, so that you're easily able to grab it and easily able to connect with the rod. And that brings us into number 2. It's got to be able to throw sparks. If when you're connecting with it, it's throwing these little tiny sparks and not really removing a lot of the rod and helping you to get that fire going, it's basically useless. Well, this guy absolutely has a razor sharp edge to it, and you connect with that thing and the sparks launch, and it really does do an excellent job in that regard. So in the second phase, it has this nice large rod, it's rather wide, and you're able to throw those sparks and really get what you need to get that fire going. So number 2, it does do that. Now this third feature is kind of tricky, and most FIRESTEELs actually don't offer this, but I think it's kind of needed and almost mandatory when we're talking about a fire starting device. Is yes, you need to be able and competent enough to use the tinder around you and be able to get a fire going, but oftentimes that is difficult, particularly if it's wet, rainy, and sometimes it's emergency and you're just like, I just need to get this fire going for fill in the blank reason, and I don't have the time, if possible, to be able to go get that stuff. And if I had some pre-prepped tinder on me inside or attached to the fire starter, that would really help me out a lot. And this Light My Fire starter doesn't offer any space or anywhere to store some extra tinder. And though there is a little bit of space that you could probably get some form of cotton swab or ball down in, there's no way that you're going to be able to get it out when you actually need it. And that's where this Gerber takes the cake. There is a little compartment on the back end big enough to have a cotton swab and or a pre-treated cotton tablet that you can get a fire going. And so it came with one, used that obviously in the footage that you're seeing there, and worked great. And so I can easily store a form of tinder in there, a little gasket to help with water resistance. Now it doesn't really lock and twist. I would have liked to see that. It does seat rather securely, but if you really tug on it, it could pop out. So yes, it does offer that. It's not perfect, but I would way rather have some form of storage than none whatsoever, just as a backup in that emergency situation if I need it. And it's not going to break the bank either, coming in right around $15 to $20, just depends on who, what, when, where, why. I will have a bunch of links for you guys below. Now, as an added bonus on top of these things, it does come with a 100 dB whistle. Okay, whoa, pump the brakes. Gosh, it seems like this happens a lot with Gerber stuff. You know, like I like everything about it except for little something that's just like, does it make it a win or a loss? You guys here decide. up until this point, I've used this thing dozens of times. It does everything that we want, hitting all the points, and I'm very happy with it. And then literally after having filmed this portion of the video, I'm coming back to start editing. I take it out of my pack and the whistle just falls off. And I'm like, that's really weird. And so I start looking at it, and there was no knots, no nothing. They just wedged 2 lines of paracord and hoped that like friction would have held the whistle on, and I could not mount it back in. Ended up breaking the whistle and just tied a knot with the fire starter, and so now, I mean, everything's fine. It just is lacking a whistle. And so as a fire starting device, having used it a bunch, it hits all the criteria that we're doing, and I'm happy with it. Thrown on that whistle, it was like shooting for the stars and crash landed on the moon. So I need to know from you guys, what do you think? Does that bode ill for your decision with this Gerber? Is it like, not a big deal? That definitely is, you know, it's making sense what you're talking about. For me, I'm willing to continue to use this because it is fitting those criteria that most other fire starters just can't hit. They don't hit all 3. They have like 2 out of 3 most of the time. But if you're aware of one, I'd love to see a comment below, and I'll try to get my hands on it and run it up against this Gerber. But I'm going to keep using it in the rotation for now because of everything else, and I'll just make sure I have a whistle, either a more reliable one just tied on to the paracord or something else, and just rely on something else like that. So look forward to hearing all of the comments below, guys, and we will have links for you as well to this Gerber, as well as the other ones that I've rolled in today, just so that if you are interested and you want to give this Gerber a shot, those links will be there below. And I appreciate you guys so much. Check out the other video popping up. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.